Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, LuAnn. LuAnn has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. LuAnn brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday, and I have Madeleine Macrae with me today. Hi Madeleine, how are you?
Hey LuAnn, how's it going?
It's great, and I'm excited to be talking to you today. We are going to be co-presenters at the International Window Coverings Expo in Tampa, Florida this March. It's so exciting. I'm so happy to get to talk to you ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about that in a minute. For right now, I want to tell everybody about Madeleine and why she's here on the show and why she's been invited to present at the Window Coverings Expo. Madeleine is the CEO, the founder and chief innovator for M MacRae, a national learning, coaching, and consulting firm. Madeleine's firm focuses on the development and growth of pros and companies in the home professionals industry. Madeleine has, for more than 13 years, developed a time-tested process and a language for bridging the gap between the needs and expectations of the corporate world and the needs and expectations of their greatest asset, the pros in the field. Now, I've had a chance, you guys haven't yet, but I've had a chance to talk with Madeleine a little bit before the show. And part of her bio, she says that she derives her energy from educating, inspiring, and leading her clients. And I already know this to be true. And here's another part that I already know to be true, that she is connected and responsive, and that she has a 360-degree view and understanding of objectives, goals, and stakes. And in just the short time that her and I have been talking, I'm already very, very impressed. And it's no surprise to me that you have been invited to speak by Grace McNamara at the Window Coverings Expo. So I'm so happy to have you on the show, Madeleine. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks. My pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So first of all, we are going to be presenting at the expo. This expo is March 27 and 28 at Tampa, Florida. It is called the International Window Coverings Expo. You can find information about this expo at www.iwce-vision.com. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a joint seminar on how to set your goals for 2018 and achieve them, because you and I are like individuals in this regard, right? We don't need to-do lists. We don't need lists of goals that get stuffed in boxes and in corners or on, hard drives that nobody sees, right? We want to set goals and meet them, right, Madeleine?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, Madeleine has an actual 5 days to goals training that she does and offers to clients. And so we're going to kind of run through that a little bit today, because that sort of sets the foundation for what we're going to be doing together in March. But it's also going to show for all of you and for us too, Madeleine and myself, where we overlap and we align with our visions and our philosophies on goal setting. So why don't you first, Madeleine, share with us your philosophy and how you came to arrive at these 5 days to goals training and get us started on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have had a love-hate relationship with goal setting for many, many, many years. I would say ever since I was a teenager. And it's kind of stemming from two things. The first one is, just like you, LuAnn, I am a highly self-motivated person. When I put my mind to it, it's like a dead set certainty. I don't need to chant mantras in the morning or put, a label on the front of my mirror to remind me what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. I just know it. I go for it and I get it done. I think that's just part of my DNA. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when I make goal setting this big, huge, like bigger than me thing, it's very intimidating. Because I'm already such a high intensity person that adding more intensity on top of the intensity has the opposite effect. So I really shied away from goal setting for a long time. And I knew that it wasn't going to serve me very well as I founded this business and really got it moving to not set goals as deliberately as I could be. So I really challenged myself to think through, okay, what is it that's standing in my way? And some of it is that, you're afraid to set goals that are too big and then not achieve them. And I saw that so resonant with all the small businesses that I worked with. They would overestimate what they could do in 1 year and underestimate what they could do in 5. So they were constantly feeling like pulled back and forth, back and forth. And one of the things I noticed, one of the things that one of my coaches told me is that you teach what you need to learn the most, is that every single client I was teaching how to set goals, every single one. And it came up over and over. It's the start of the boot camp. It was everywhere. And I was like, okay, Madeleine, you're just tripping over goal blocks here and not doing this for yourself and in not figuring out what is the magic behind this goal setting that you do so naturally to get where you want to go, but that other people struggle with. So that's kind of the backbone of why I created it. And it's a very simple process. It's not complicated, but just because it's simple doesn't necessarily mean it's easy.
What you're saying is something that you naturally have a talent and affinity for, you found yourself teaching other people, and the coach cued you in that it was something you needed to identify and maybe just really get more finite for yourself in order to just even be more effective at it, right? Because you can always be better at something, right?
Yeah. So I have this major passion for discovery, which is looking outside of myself and seeing what other people are doing well. And then exploration, which is looking within and watching what I'm doing and see where my magic is. I'm very passionate about that. And it's part of my DNA. It's what I do. So when I realized that I kept teaching goals, and actually I kept reaching these outrageous goals I would set, kind of almost accidentally, I said, wait a minute, there is a method to this magic that I'm just doing so naturally that I'm not consciously aware of it. So I took the time to think through what is it, and then to map that into a little mini process.
Right. I love it.
Yep.
You know what it is? It's like in sports when somebody comes up and they can swing a bat. And they just like the coach goes, that's a heck of a swing. But if you ask that young player at that moment, whether he's 25 or 15 years old, how did you do that? He'd say, I just hit it. And every time I get up to the plate, I hit it. It's like, well, I just reached my goals. Well, so nice. So you took it apart and you understood for yourself what your processes were. Okay, and now you teach that to other people.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been on this quest for what is it that people crave? What is it that my ideal clients, which are small business owners in the home professional space, people who have a family business, people who have their own business, what is it that they struggle with that I could just give? Because I love it and I'm good at it and I'm passionate about it. And it's not something that I want to put a barrier of purchasing. I just want to give it to everyone because I know that it really changes lives. And I thought about it long and hard for many, many, many months, almost a year, actually, almost a year, to think about what piece of what I teach is most impactful that I could give generously and feel really good about giving. And it was this, because it comes up over and over and over. And without knowing where you're going, without that really clear vision of your destination, even if you get somewhere really cool, it's hard to feel good about it. It's like I'm all about celebrating wins and celebrating successes. It's a core part of what I teach my private clients. But if you don't know where you're headed, how do you know if you ever got there?
Right. You have to measure. You always have to measure. You have to, you definitely do.
You can't just be like, we're going to go on this road trip, pack your bags, jump in the car, drive at random, end up with nowhere specific, come back home and be like, that was a great road trip. Well, where did you go? Oh, we just drove around in the car in circles in our neighborhood for a real long time. That's not fun. That's not the way to do a road trip.
Right. And the other side of that is that sometimes, the analogy could be, okay, I just packed up the car and went on a road trip, and you can come back a week later and you could have had some really fabulous moments along the way. But
Right.
how do you duplicate them? How do you create them
Right.
again if you haven't figured out what happened in order to make those fabulous moments happen?
Right.
So you might have
Right.
run into a great, hotel, but the next time you go on a road trip, you might not find that hotel again or a great
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah.
So you can't
Yes.
just say, hey, I did it once and it worked out fine. It'll always work out fine. You always have to sit back and reflect and think about what took me. How did I get there? What process did I do? What steps
Yeah.
did I take? Right? That's what I love. I love it. Because
Absolutely.
because there's people all day long. You know it, like I know it. There's people all day long, all year long that we meet that run businesses and that are making money. But if you said to them, teach me how to do what you do, they couldn't do it because they haven't analyzed it enough to know
Right.
what the
Right.
steps are. So that doesn't mean that
Right.
they're not necessarily profitable. Usually it means they're not nearly as profitable as they could be. Right?
Sure, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also there's a little bit of golden nugget there for the people who are out there listening to this podcast, who are, this Power Friday, who are winging it, right? You might be thinking, oh gosh, man, both Madeleine and LuAnn are telling me like, basically, if I'm winging it, I'm kind of not doing the right thing. But don't beat yourself up over that because that is the first step.
Right.
The first step is to build a formula that works. And the only way to build a formula that works is by testing and trialing it, testing and trialing it, testing and trialing it. And when you have success, when you're seeing like, okay, now this is working for me, then you go back and see where is the method in my magic?
Right.
Like where is it hidden? And sometimes you need a coach's help. Sometimes you need another pair of eyes. And, if you don't want to trial and error it, the best possible way of not doing that is find someone in your network, in your zone, who has a repeatable process that you can adapt to your own business.
Right.
So you don't have to wing it, but if you are, I don't want you to be listening to this podcast and thinking like, oh gosh, I'm doing it wrong. You're not.
No.
You're doing it perfectly right. And it's just the first step. It's not the end of the story.
Exactly. And it also could be a little bit to what you said. Somebody could be winging it, quote unquote, and really being very profitable. So then it becomes the analogy that you made. You were very good at teaching people how to set goals, even though you hadn't identified your process for setting goals. So now so if you are profitable and you're thinking I'm winging it, well, take a minute now and go back and identify what is it? Is your branding on point? Why is your branding so good? Oh, it was an accident, but what is it an accident? And oh, even if it was an accident, you just authentically found your voice, but now recognize, oh, that's one of the reasons why. Or my customer service is exceptional. Oh, that's another reason why. And now these are the things that you can consciously continue to repeat so that you can exponentially, create your success, right?
Yes, all about that exponential growth. That is one of my firm foundational beliefs, that the exponential growth is the only way for Madeleine Macrae. It's just how I roll. So I love it.
That's it.
Love it.
Terrific. All right, so let's talk about your process that you teach people now. This
Sure.
goals training. What are the steps that we go through?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with just step one. Step one is what I call a brain dump. It's a step where you're going to clear the clutter. So part of what I do when I teach is I'm going to draw the curtain back and show you a little bit of the why I teach this, so that you don't just blindly get your paper out and start doing it and not know why you're doing it.
Okay.
So the reason why I teach this brain dump is that most of us, most entrepreneurs, most business owners have a zillion ideas bubbling around in our brain. We're good at a lot of things, right? We have so many open doors and we're like, the world is my oyster. But what we also do is when we heard, let's say we listened to, a podcast and we found some great tidbit of advice, we think, oh, I should implement that in my business. And that goes on the list. And we get another one, and I should implement that, and that goes on my list, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, another one, another one. And pretty soon you're in a state of overwhelm because you have 85 things that you feel you should be doing. And meanwhile, you're not doing them. So here comes the guilt. Here comes the feeling of inadequacy. Here comes the I'm not doing it right.
The imposter syndrome comes in then, right? I'm not doing it because I'm really not a good business person. I'm not doing it because I really don't know how to do it. I'm not doing it because I'm lazy. I don't know what it is, but that also is part of it, right?
Yes. And that's what I call the stick of blame. We are beating ourselves up with that stick of blame. And what I want everyone to do is to open up your window, take your blame stick and chuck it out. Like beating yourself with that stick is not doing you any good. Right. It's not helping you get better. It's not encouraging. It's just making welts on your body. That's not good for you. So just throw away the stick of blame. And the only way we can throw away that stick of blame is, first of all, recognize that should is just arbitrary. You know, there are things that we should be doing in our business that we're not doing. And by the way, we're profitable and it's fine. Right. And then there are other shoulds that, we should pay our taxes. Well, if you don't do that, there's going to be some dire consequences, right?
Exactly.
So there are different levels of should. But in the English language, there's no way to differentiate those should as if like it would be nice to do, and those should is urgent to do, or else my business is going to close.
Right.
So just remember that you said you should do it. So you can as easily say, I will do it, but just not now.
Right. Or I might change my mind.
Yeah.
Not doing it.
Not doing it. I see that works for them. Congratulations. Good for them. That's not what I'm going to do. Right. Totally legit. So what you want to do in this data dump stage is get a clean sheet of paper, take some time, find a quiet moment. Right? If you've got a bunch of kids and that means you need to do it after they're in bed or before they wake up in the morning and you're running a successful business and you need to close your office door, whatever you need to do, find some calm, quiet space where you're not hurried. Because this is not a hurry up and get it done step. This is a really get it out onto the paper step. Everything that you feel you should be doing, everything you feel you ought to be doing, everything you would like to be doing in your business, every hope, dream, aspiration that you've been holding in your mind goes on the paper. And the beauty of this is it's going to clear up a lot of mental clutter. When every single door is open, we can't move, right? We have to choose a door to go through. And until we can see clearly what our available options are, it's very hard to make any motion at all. So that's the very first step. Clear the clutter. Do a brain dump. Get everything on your wish list, on that imaginary, if only I could do this in my business list. And it doesn't matter if it's something that you feel you should do in 10 years or something you should feel like you should do in 10 minutes. It doesn't matter if it's something that's a really quick thing that, if I just found some time, I could do it real easy. Doesn't matter. All goes onto the paper. And that lets you start to clear the clutter. That's step number one.
And I would just say it seems to me that at least when I contemplate doing this, I would almost have to do this, add to this list every day over several days, because certain amount of things are going to come to my mind, even if I gave myself a half hour, 45 minutes to do it. And then 3 days later, I'm going to be listening to another podcast episode of one of the ones that I listen to, or re-listening to one of my own when I'm editing a show. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I got to do that.
Yes. So the good thing about this, good and bad thing, right, is the universe is really a cool place, right? The world that we live in, it's constantly presenting us with opportunities and information. And every time we get an opportunity or information, we have a decision. What do we do with it? Like, what should we do with it? What could we do with it? Where does it belong? And every new piece of information that we see and that we hear and that we encounter, we can choose to do something or do nothing with it. And so this list is always evolving. Right. It's not like you did this list once and then, that's good. I never have to touch that again in my life. This is always going to be changing because our desires are constantly being reawakened by our circumstances. So it's okay that this is a living document for you. But, and if you want to do it over the course of a couple of days, that's also helpful. But what I want to give also to your listeners is that if it doesn't come up right away for you, it's probably not a hot
High
burning
priority.
urgent item.
Right. That's true.
What is going to come up in that 30 minutes that you take to do this are going to be the things that you really, really, really are focused on.
Okay. That's the researcher in me that needs to make sure I got everything. But I hear you. The first things that come to mind on a good, quiet, contemplative, half hour or so are probably the biggest things, even if they do include little things. But the point is that they're the biggest things in your subconscious and your conscious. Okay.
And what you can do, actually, for those who are like LuAnn and have that researcher gene, which I personally don't have. So thank you for bringing that up and for enriching the conversation that way. But those of you who are like that, what I do is I do have on my phone a constant list. I use my notes in my phone. And every time I get inspired, I put it on the notes. I put it on the notes.
Right.
Because that way, getting it out of your mind and into a concrete location, onto a piece of paper, it really does free up the energy that you have, because you are literally taking up mental space by holding on to all those things in your brain.
Yes.
So putting them somewhere frees you up.
Yeah, no. And for me, I don't know how you are, but I'm in the car a lot. So driving back and forth to appointments and so forth. And most of our designers listening are the same way. And so for me, the car is one of my places where I get ideas and I think, oh yeah, and this and that and the other thing. And of course, also it's where I listen to podcasts as well, which are also amazing grounds for ideas. And so I have a stack of, I have at least 2 little notebooks in the car, and I have a stack of napkins. And so what happens is I do it in the notebooks, but then they're little notebooks, but then every week or so I'll bring the notebooks in, and then I have to transfer them to my bigger notebooks or to my whiteboards or my this or that. And then all of a sudden I find myself with no notebooks in the car. So then there comes the napkins. And so I'm at the traffic lights and I'm writing the things on the napkins, or I'm driving down the highway and writing on the napkin. And then usually after 4 or 5 days, I'll bring all the napkins in and then I transfer them to the notebooks.
I hear you. You have dangerous, highway driving techniques.
You don't want to see. It's crazy. And then, of course, now I have the duct tape diaries going where I'm doing Facebook Live from the car.
Love it.
Because that's where I get my ideas. I was struggling for ideas for Facebook Live, and finally I'm like, I get a million ideas in the darn car. I'm like, all right, put the phone on. Let's go. So, okay. So I like that idea. So take a half hour, really go through. And I love that you give permission to put everything on there, from an immediate thing that you want to do, which might be do a floor plan this afternoon, to something which is 5 years from now, open your own studio or buy your own building. It's everything that you, like you said, you feel you should do, you feel you want to do, the feel you desire to do, and your wish list of things that you want to have in your business, in your life. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and that's a great question. Do you recommend that if somebody's primary reason for doing this is to move their business forward, that they incorporate personal goals in this, Madeleine, or leave that separate and have this be specifically just your business goals? Yeah,
great question. So remember that as a business owner, everywhere you go, there you are. So whether it's personal goals or business goals, you can't really be 2 different people.
Right.
You are all of who you are in your business. You are all of who you are in your personal life. So I would actually very strongly recommend that you do this process for both.
Okay.
Don't combine them, because you're going to, that makes it, it's like, that story where you who gets the baby, you split the baby, you can't do that. So you have to keep those, keep them separated, but you recognize that it's really, once you learn how to do this for your business, you can play how you'll do this for your personal life. I personally am going to be doing a 2-day retreat for myself this weekend to get really clear. I should have done it. Here you go. Stick of blame. Should have done it in September, right? We all teach what we need to learn.
Right.
I hit myself with that stick, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to throw it away. But I would have liked to have done it in December. I didn't. So now I'm doing it early January.
Okay.
And I actually have 5 categories of areas of my life that I will be doing this process for. Because each area, it's a very different, my health and wellness and spiritual well-being, it's a very different thing that I'm going to focus on than it will be, my business results.
Right. Okay, so that's good advice. So, and because look, like you said, we take ourselves everywhere we go. It's most of us. I don't know that I've never met anybody that the way they feel in their personal life doesn't affect the way they are in their business life, and vice versa. And so, yes, so if you are, seriously lacking in some sort of balance, and balance is a tough word because everybody's level of acceptance for what the balance is very different. So
very
somebody
personal.
else, yes, right. Somebody, their balance might require that they meditate for an hour every morning and that they're done work every night at 6:00. Somebody else's balance might be like mine. As long as I'm done at 10 o'clock at night and I have a glass of wine and have an hour with my husband, I'm balanced. because if it's 6:00, I got to sit there and look at you and get nothing done for the next 4 hours. No, I'm not a happy person.
Right. It doesn't feel productive.
Right. So we have different tolerances is the point, right? But to be true to your tolerance and to own it, and then to make your goals based on what your desires are, right?
Right. And the important piece here is don't get overwhelmed by making this process really hard, right? Don't make this another thing where you have another 5 open doors. Oh, gosh darn it, I have to do it for all 5 categories of my life. Therefore, it's too much work, and now it's a huge project, and I'm not going to do it.
Great point.
When I was working in corporate, so I worked for Somfy Systems for 5 years. They make tubular motors and controls, and I was the most quickly promoted person in the history of the organization, and I was at an executive level at a very young age. And one of the people in my circle who had been someone I looked up to and very quickly became a peer told me, he was talking about expense reports of all things, but it was such good advice that I've used throughout my life. He said, Madeleine, if you do something when it's just a task, you can get it done really quickly and you can just knock it out. It's easy and you get it done. If you wait and it becomes a project, the likelihood of you sitting down and accomplishing it significantly decreases.
Wow.
So let this be a task for you. Don't let this become a project, right? Just find a little time and do it for one thing. And I'm going to suggest, since this is a business-focused podcast, do it for your business first. And then if you want to then take this excellence that you're going to get in doing this process and apply it later to your personal life, to your health, to your wellness, to your relationships, to whatever, you can then do that. But get good at it first somewhere. Just do it and then transfer that excellence to other areas in your life.
I love it. And you know what? I love that if you do something when it's just a task and don't wait till it's a project. What's funny is that's a very professional way to say what I have said to my daughters and my girlfriends forever. I'm telling you, for 30 years, I have said, I have a personal thing. I have a 3-pound limit. When I am so out of balance that I have gained, and I've actually adjusted it to 2 pounds. When I'm so out of balance that I have gained 3 pounds, that's it. World stops. We're going to just get this locked down. And what I've always said is because 3 pounds, to your language, is a task. 3 pounds is a task. 3 pounds means, okay, do 3 more runs, 2 more runs this week and have 3 less pieces of pizza. But 10 pounds, 15 pounds is a project.
It's a diet.
But it's the same thing. I love it.
Yes.
It's the same concept. It's so easily understood that something that's small and doable, you just do it. Whereas if you let it, you still have to do it. You still have this task to do, and it's getting bigger and bigger and it's growing. And now it's something that you have to alter your lifestyle in order to accomplish this project. Right.
And then let's go back to that stick of blame. The more you don't do it and feel you should,
it's counterproductive the whole time. Right. The whole time. You're not even enjoying the pizza. You're not even enjoying the things you're overeating and gaining 5 more pounds while you're going to eventually lose it all. Or you're not even enjoying not getting your work done. You know what I mean? So, and that's for me too. It's that same thing with, it's not that I work every night till 10 o'clock at night, but I'm not going to be happy if I just stop and I don't get things done to do nothing. That's that I could be getting something done. So I love it. I love it. It's so good.
Thank you. This is only the beginning of step 1.
Yes, I know. So let's go. What's step 2?
There's actually a secondary part of step 1.
Okay.
That I want you to do that will be really helpful. So look at your list once you've written it. So write the list, then look at the list. And when you look at the list, decide whether or not this is a task or something that you would really look at as a goal.
Okay.
Right? So your example of, I want to make that blueprint. That's really a task. That should live on your daily to-do list. If it's something that you just need to knock out of the park and do to keep your business going forward. So for a really long time, I worked in the exterior industry with hurricane protection and protective products, and a lot of, two guys in a truck with muddy boots. So I always use vehicles as my way to describe businesses. So car, your truck. So your business is your truck. And if you don't know your road, that's one thing. But if you let your truck run out of gas, that's a totally different problem. Right. So look at what the things that you wrote on your paper are and move any tasks over to a task list. Because a task list is just the things that I got to call this client back. I got to make up this quote. I got to do this blueprint. I got to figure out the layout for this. I got to talk to that employee about this. I got to, whatever those got to do things just to keep your car full of gas. Move those off of your list. Okay. Give yourself more space, right? Let this list, this master list that you've created, really represent the things that you want to do, to change, to improve, to add in your business that are going to move you towards where you ultimately want to get your business.
Okay. But it's helpful to just, like you said, you call it brain dump. Brain dump it all first. Don't try and, make the two different lists at the beginning, because it's tough. It's tough to get your brain off of certain things that are tasks that you need to do.
Yep. That's why the first step is literally everything goes on the paper. Right. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yes.
Everything goes on that paper. And then you edit out what it doesn't belong as a goal. I get it. So if you can get it done in a task format, quickly, easily, knock it out of the park, it probably belongs on your task list. Okay. Your little daily to do.
Right. Okay.
That's sub step of step one.
Okay. Love it.
The next step that you're going to want to do is you want to look at what you've written and see if you're really putting on your list what you want to have or what you don't want to have. So it's a very sophisticated neuro trick that we're going to be doing in really easy terms, right? So think about it this way. I'm going to take your example, LuAnn, with your dieting and the yo-yo dieting and the 5 pounds versus 50 pounds or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. We all know about dieting. It's part of life. Like our bodies retain and lose pounds and weight and all that. So it's really, really easy to dial it into this. So if you wrote on your paper, for instance, I don't want to be fat, what your mind is focused on is what you don't want. Your mind is actually focused on the fat, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of writing, I want to be slender. Mm-hmm. What your mind is focused on is the slenderness. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very sophisticated thing, but reread what you've written. And anything on your paper that is what you don't want, rewrite it into what you do want, right? So I'm going to give a practical business example. I want to get out of debt. Right. What do you focus on?
Debt.
The debt, right?
Right.
So how do you get out of debt? You make more profit.
Right.
So I want to increase the profitability of my business, right?
Right.
So let's do another one. Let's say that you want to hire employees, want to bring on new team members, right? So you might want to say, I don't want to have people who blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. You want to say what you do want. I want people who are go-getters. I want people who are detail-oriented instead of I don't want people who mess up tasks.
Right.
So make sure that your paper reflects what it is you accurately want, not what you don't want.
I love it. Well, you don't know this, but my listeners that have listened to me forever know that I am a Silva mind control method child. Mm-hmm. Took it at 10 years old and have practiced, and that is so Silva right there. The universe hears what you say. Yes. And if you say, I don't want to be in debt, that's what the universe hears. It hears debt. And so you need to, I am a profitable. And I take it a step further. I put it in the present. Rather than I want to be a profitable, I am a profitable business. I am a profitable, I'm a successful business owner. I am, a successful salesperson. I am, skilled salesperson. I am a skilled designer. I am a talented, leader of my company. So I agree with that 110%, that you have to frame it in the positive result that you expect and want to achieve, and leave all the negative out the back door.
Right. And the piece around this also is that our actual subconscious mind does not recognize a negative. So if you say, I don't want that, it doesn't know not. No. It only knows what you do want. And another really easy way to look at this, which I love, that little bit that you just added there, LuAnn, so cool, is that what you focus on expands. Mm-hmm. So one of my coaches, I'm a product of my own product. I'm a coach, and I hire coaches to help me up my game. Mm-hmm. One of my coaches said that we have 40 million bits of information that come at us at every given moment throughout our day. And when she first said that, I was like, that's crazy. Right. But stop where you are and literally look around. Right. Look at the colors, the textures, the shapes, the letters, the words, the scents, the light, the everything around you. Every single thing is information. Right. That your brain has to do something with. And we can only focus on 20 bits of information at a time.
How many? 20 what?
20 bits of information.
20 out of 40 million.
Yes. So that means right now I'm focused on your words. Mm-hmm. I'm focused on the content of our conversation. I'm focused on, the pen I'm holding in my hand to take notes. Right. Those are the things I'm focused on, because that's what I'm engaging with. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it in terms of a goal, this is the overall goal setting stuff. This isn't included in the training. You're getting so much more. The overall goals training, what we focus on expands. So if we are really clear about where we want to go, we'll notice the open doors that get us there. Right. But when we're hazy about it, our brain doesn't have that, notice this, notice that. I was sitting at a restaurant with one of my clients not so long ago, and she immediately zeroed in on the window coverings, because that's what her business does. Right. And I zeroed in on how they were operating their business. Because that's what I do. And they had really poor service. And I was like, oh my gosh, so we will notice what our focused attention is on, right? That's what we will do. That's what we will let, like if you pour all the information like it's going into a colander, like when you're draining spaghetti noodles, the noodles that stay in the colander are what we're focused on, and all the water goes out. That's the same with everything around us. So what we're focusing on is what we're going to see more of.
Wow. Yeah, no, you had me at hello with this conversation. I'm going to tell you right now. And I just share with everybody, Jan L. Bowen was on the podcast on a Power Talk Friday, and we talked about intuition. And I was trying to look it up while you were talking, but I can't find it. Sometimes I can do two things at once. Sometimes I can't. But if you are listening to Madeleine's conversation and this is hitting a chord with you, that Power Talk Friday was all about when you said the sentence, when you are clear on what you're attracting in your life. These aren't, I'm paraphrasing you. When you're clear with what you're looking for, clear with what your goals are, when you see 5 doors, you know which one to go through. You see, and Jan had how you were going all the way through goal setting. Jan goes through the nuts and bolts on how to learn to recognize and how to cultivate your intuition, which is the next layer of what you're saying. So we're talking about getting very clear and identifying what we want in our life and what we want our goals to be for our business. But then there is another layer of that sophistication of being able to see the opportunity when it's in front of you and know how and when to seize it. So I think that's like a little good tandem thing to what you're talking about here. So it's awesome.
Right.
Okay. Right. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to brain dump. Then after we brain dump, we are going to divide out and eliminate the task. We're going to put that on a separate to-do list that has nothing to do with this. And then we're going to examine very closely the language and make sure that we have everything written in a way that attracts the most positive frame of mind and language to the universe that's listening to us. So I am a profitable business person. I'm not. I want to be out of debt.
Mm-hmm.
I am an expert at recognizing talent and hire amazing people. Not like I don't want people who don't know how to do stuff.
Right. Exactly.
So, okay, good. Okay,
Yeah.
so those are our parts 1A and B and part 2. And then where do we go from here?
All right, now it's part 3. This is really, again, don't confuse simple with easy.
Right.
It's a simple step, but you really want to put some focus attention on this because it's very important. You want to number them from 1 to 1 zillion, however many are on your sheet. Now, if you got 50 things on your sheet, literally number them from 1 to 50.
Okay.
What is the top number 1 thing? What is the next one? What is the next one? What is the next one? So here's a little really interesting factoid. I'm all about these little interesting factoids. Up until the early 20th century, the word priority was a single noun. One priority. I have one priority.
Oh.
And then in the 20th century, it became priorities. It became pluralized. But think about it this way.
Yeah.
If you have 5 things that are number 1, your 5 number 1 things. Which one of the 5 is the most one of them?
Right. What is actually number 1?
You can't even say it that way.
Exactly.
So it happens in corporate all of the time. They'll say our top 25 priorities are, but then when it comes down to spending money, when it comes down to investing in your business, when it comes down to what you're going to do next, how do you decide where you put that if every single one is equally number 1?
Right.
You can't. It creates paralysis. So don't do what they do in corporate. Do it the smart way, right? Why do it the hard way when you can do it the smart way?
I love it.
So just pick your number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, all the way down. Don't worry too much as you get past the top 3, 4, 5. But once you read your list, you'll tell if you get down to the bottom of the list and you have one that you're, oh gosh, that should be up higher. Don't fret about the order after your top 3 to 5.
Okay. Right.
So do the top 3 to 5 and then kind of like, okay, reorder them if you want. Don't spend hours doing this step.
Right. You're not getting an A+ on this term paper. Right.
No, you know what? This is for you, right? Project viewing only. So LuAnn said something really important, like intuition. So we have a program called Fast Track Sales Systems that my certified coaches teach in a boot camp. And we have this one step in our boot camp where we're teaching people how to talk about what their client struggles with, right? And they inevitably, every member of the boot camp, so these are all small business owners, they're people just like you, who will say, well, my client really feels like this, like that, like this, like that. They're really worried. They're overwhelmed. They don't feel good about it. They don't know where to start. How do I say that? I don't know how to say that. Keep it simple.
Right.
You just said it, right? So trust that when you say, I really think this one's number 1, trust that you probably are right.
Right. Right. Like, don't get crazy pants over this. You know what I mean? Like, trust yourself a little bit to be okay, because we're not like sending this to NBC News. You can revise it.
You can revise, and you're going to revise it. And
right.
Great news, I'm going to teach you how.
Okay, good. But I want one question in there in the prioritizing into creating this 1 through 5. Okay. Is there criteria that we should use to get to this finite 1 through 5 and ultimately to 1? Is there anything that you would say, like, in other words, my brain goes to, my criteria, for creating the number 1 could be the one that I feel is the number 1 way that I'm going to create more clients. Or I could say, well, it could be the criteria is the number 1 thing I could visualize actually having everything I need right now to execute that one. Mm-hmm. So you see, there could be 2 different things. Yeah. The thing that's the number 1 way, like an email marketing sequence could be the number 1 way that I really believe I can fill my pipeline, but I have to do just 15 things before I can execute that. So how do I do that? How do I?
Yes. So great. We're going to get to that in a later step. So that's a really important piece. So during this step of the prioritization, what you want to do is follow your intuition of what you want the most in your business.
Okay. Don't care that I don't know how to do it. Right. Okay.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the tactics. This is just the thing. So for instance, in your example, both of your items were, I want more clients.
Right. Okay.
My goal is to have 10x my client list, or whatever that is. So the thing about this number one goal you're going to create is, or that you are in the process of creating right now through this process, is that you want it to be something that helps you get out of bed in the morning, something that you can be like, yeah, I'm getting there. This is really making an impact. You don't want it to be so tactical, nuts and boltsy that it's just a task, right? This is the thing that you build the task list from.
Okay. I see the difference there. One is the actual way to get more clients, and the other is the clarity of the goal of more clients.
Right. Remember, this is a goal setting strategy.
Right.
This is not the tactical approach of hitting the goals yet. Okay. Right. So we're going to get there. So this list is prioritize your brain dump. You've made your brain dump. You've cleaned up your brain dump. You've reformulated it if you need to. That's like a little mini step. Then now you're prioritizing them. That's the step that we're on now.
Okay.
And then, are you ready for the scary step?
Uh-huh.
This is the step where most people say, "Oh, Madeleine, that's not practical. We can't do that. Our business won't succeed if we do that." And what I want to tell you is, I have coached clients to multi-million-dollar sales growth by forcing them to do this. So trust the process.
Here comes your castor oil, smiling while it goes down.
So the thing that got in your number one spot is your only thing right now.
Yeah.
So what that means is that everything else on that list is we're going to do it, but just not right now.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So LuAnn, in your example, if your number one priority, is increase my client list, it doesn't matter what the rest are, because we're not going to focus on that right now. Right. We are going to focus on killing it, nailing that one thing.
Okay. And that's where I can hear now comes in all the tactical things in order to get that done, but to get the clarity of what it is you're going to put your attention to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I love it.
That is the hardest step for people to accept. Mm-hmm. I have been in coaching calls with clients where they have resisted me, but Madeleine. And I'm like, look, you are paying me to help you. So just believe me.
Yeah.
Wait, give it time. Right. Because here's what happens. It feels like you're going to go really slow.
Yes.
But what's actually happening is you've let go of all of that crazy running around in 50,000 directions that wasn't serving your business anyways.
Right.
And you've just refocused all of that energy on this one thing.
Because the other busyness fools us into thinking we're productive.
Yes.
Right?
You got it. Right. So what I want you to do is let go of all the zillion things you think you should be doing. Focus on your single number one priority, that big goal. And here's the litmus test. If I only did this for the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next year, and this is the one thing that I got done, the one thing that I accomplished, would it make a difference in my business? Mm-hmm. And if it's a resounding yes, you probably have the right thing. Mm-hmm. If not, go back to a step and look at your list again and think about those things. Or think a little bit bigger picture, right? Maybe you didn't even put on your paper that bigger goal. Dare to dream, right? What do you really want? Do you really want to have a $100,000 business? Do you want to have $1 million business? Do you want to have a $10 million business? What do you want? Mm. It is safe to dream it.
Right.
And it's safe to get it.
And it's important to dream it. It's actually, as an entrepreneur, it's required, right?
You've got to. If you can't dream it, how can you get it?
That's right. That's my point. If you can't even sniff the visualization of it, if you can't even imagine the glimpse of it, how will you ever go about achieving it? You have to be able to believe that you're worthy of it, that you're entitled to it, that you're capable of it, and that there is a way to get it done. But you have to first trust in the glimpse of it, the vision of it.
Right. And here's the thing. Remember how we talked about what you focus on expands. So you don't know yet how you're going to get there. That's okay. That's one of the reasons people don't do this, because they're afraid, like, but I don't know how, but opportunity will come when you commit to your goal.
Right.
The universe will conspire to support you.
It's exactly
when
right.
you get to your goal.
Yeah.
You have to. So this step is the fourth step, and that is commit to your one thing. And the beauty of this step is that now when you get all those open doors, decisions become really easy. Right? If your number one goal is get more clients and an opportunity comes up that is about something open, like make a new product line, you know what? That's a great thing, and it's going on my list for later.
Right.
I'm not going to waste 5 days, 10 days, 5 weeks of my time evaluating that new product line, figuring out, because that's not my goal right now.
Right.
It might be in 6 months, but right now it's not.
Right.
It allows you to stand up and make your yes, yes, and your no, no. Really powerful step. It allows you to say, that's an awesome idea for later.
Right. And later will come. You can do it later. Later could be a month. It could be a year. It doesn't matter.
When you don't do this, later never comes.
Right.
When you do this, later comes way faster than you think.
Right. Because you get things done and you check them off and you move on to the other things that were originally on your list.
Yes. Exactly.
So do me a favor, Madeleine. It's so easy for us to visualize when the goal is the obvious one that I selected with it, which is get more clients. Pick a goal that a business owner, that an interior designer might have that isn't necessarily that. So pick something else that might be that, because I think it's so easy to say, like, for instance, if somebody's, what would it be? Okay, let me tell you where I'm struggling with this. It's because,
Sure.
Yeah. So for instance, like window works. So what I'm struggling with is trying to help somebody understand the difference between a task and a goal. Okay.
Yep.
So when it's obvious, it's obvious. You explained a few cases where it was obvious. But when I think about window works, okay, so window works, yes, it would be great to have more clients. It always is. Okay. But sometimes this is my question, is a complete overhaul, which will take 12 weeks of consulting and really creating video and creating copy and really going out and working with a photographer and getting all new photography of staff and of projects and creating a new website. That's a huge project in the middle of my world right now. Is that a goal or a task? Because becomes part of, it's a task because the ultimate reason is because it's wanting to grow more clients. That's the distinction I'm looking for everybody.
Yeah. So here's what I think you're asking, and correct me if I'm inaccurate. Okay. So it sounds like you have this big, I'm going to call it a project, big project of redoing your marketing materials, and the goal of that project is ultimately get more clients, right?
Right.
So your big goal could be get more clients. And you could have a couple of projects that are going to lead you to that ultimate goal.
So then here's my thing. I maybe you're going to tell me, well, hello, duh. But I feel like there isn't anything that I do connected to window works that ultimately isn't being done to get more clients. Even when I want to train an employee to be their best, it's so that they ultimately handle each client to the most excellent level of satisfaction so that that client will return and refer. So is it just everything in business ultimately is to get more clients? Or that's what I'm trying to say, is because I can't think of a goal that doesn't, a task or something that doesn't relate to that.
Right. So that's really where your focused attention is. So it could be that Every business needs clients to grow, right? And you want to grow your business. You want to make more money. You want to become more profitable. You want to hire more people. So that could show up in a lot of different ways for different people. So for instance, your goal is get more clients. Like that's so clear to you. But someone else's goal might be more profitable. Someone else's goal might be increase my revenue. Someone else's goal might be I want to focus on those repeat clients, get more repeat clients. Like that's what they want to focus on. Someone else might say, I want to grow my team. Yeah, ultimately grow your team is because you want to grow your business, right? It's all often and almost always in service of some sort of a revenue goal or growth goal, right? That's a bigger, we always have that. That's just part of being in business, right?
That's what I was saying. Like all roads lead to, more clients, more money. It's like,
but the how of that is that like other goal. So for instance, you might say, I want to grow my business, or one of your listeners might say, I want to grow my business to be a $500,000 business. Let's just say. Someone else might be like, man, 500,000, that was years ago. I want to be a, $5 million business.
Right.
So your activities and the path of getting to your goal is going to vary greatly based on what you put down on your paper as what you think is your next goal.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So let's say that you're that business owner who wants to grow. Let's say you're getting, you want to get to the $500,000 place. Let's just say, that's going to require different doors to open for you to get there. But if you're already at a couple of $1 million and you want to get to 5 million, totally different doors are going to open. But if you're only at, let's say 150,000 and your big aspirational goal is 5 million, that's way too big of a gap.
Right.
You have to break it down to a smaller, more manageable bite-sized chunk.
Right. Okay. Right. Have it there. Have it in your vision. Have it on your dream board. Sure. But you have to manage it a little bit. You have to go from Pee-wee baseball to high school to college before you get to the Yankees. Okay.
Yes, exactly. You're not just going to be like, I'm 16 years old. I want to be a Yankee, but I don't know how to hit a ball yet.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Right. So that's where, yes, in a way you could say ultimately in business, all goals lead to profit. Well, not necessarily. All goals lead to growth of some nature, but it could look very different. It could say my goal for my business right now, for instance, for you, your big goal is, I want to grow more clients. That's ultimately what you always want. Okay. But let's say your immediate goal is I want to professionalize my marketing.
Okay.
Now I want a new brand. I want to improve my brand.
Okay.
That's where my energy is right now.
Okay.
That's my 6-month goal, or that's my 1 quarter goal. Because my big goal is I want to grow more clients, but this is what I want to do right now.
Okay.
And
understood.
That allows you to say, let's say someone opens a door for you that's totally pulls your energy away from that project. You can say, you know what? Thanks for the opportunity, and I'm going to wait for later.
Okay. I love it. It's exciting stuff. So that's actually 4. There's one more step though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And it's exactly in service of this thing that we've been talking about. Okay. So when you've picked that goal and you've committed to it, now you have to ask yourself, how long is a reasonable time for me to get this goal done? Right? People, like I said, underestimate what they can do in 5 years and way overestimate what they can do in a year. Often. One of the big bright minds of our time said that. I can't remember which smart guy it was that said that, but and it's really simple, to overestimate or underestimate how long it might take you. So give yourself a buffer. If you think it's going to take yourself 3 months, give yourself 6. Right. Okay. Right. Give yourself some buffer because you don't want to stress over, oh my gosh, I didn't make it. So you need to ask yourself, like the example that I just gave around I want to grow my business to a $5 million business. If that's just like, you can't even hardly imagine what that would even feel like in a zillion years, might be the wrong thing, right? Make sure it's manageable, something that you can feel like, wow, that's a bit of a stretch. That feels like, oh, wow, I'm going to need to grow to get there, but I feel like I could do it.
Right. There's a good distinction in there. It has to be, you should not limit yourself and put limits on yourself. But when you're doing an actionable exercise like this, then it should be something that you, like you just express, something that doesn't seem like, hey, no big deal, I just have to pay attention and I've got it done, but something that with effort and with, thoughtful processes and steps in place, you could achieve it. Like you'd have to work your booty off, but you could achieve it.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to have to put in some really good, solid effort. And instead of work, I like to say focus attention, because work feels hard. Right. And I don't necessarily think it has to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard to get there. Just to really focus on it. Right.
That is another excellent distinction, because it's like what I was saying before. You can work all day, but if 3/4 of it is busy work and it hasn't been focused in the service of your goal, you just put in a day's work, but you didn't really move your needle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So the next thing, this last step, is all in service of that. It's chunk your goal down into like what people might call a milestone or to mini steps, because you want to celebrate your steps towards getting there. So you want to take, if your goal, I'm going to use LuAnn, I'm going to use yours, revamp my marketing. That's my number one focus. That's my priority. That's my goal. Right now, that is my goal. In order to do that, here's the 12 action steps that need to happen. I need to hire a photographer. I need to rewrite the copy. I need to decide on the projects. I need to interview clients. All the stuff that relates back to that goal, right? To accomplishing that goal, those check-offable things that you're going to need to do. And then once you have those check-offable things, now you can get there because you built the roadmap.
Right. Right.
That's why these are goals you can achieve, because you set up that lofty, like, ooh, this is cool. That feels good. Ooh, yeah, I'm going there. And then you took the time to say what's needed to get there. And if you find yourself coming up with 100 things that's needed, might be the wrong goal, right? Maybe it's a little bit too far out. Choose something a little bit more proximate, a little closer to you.
And this is a good place that if you are working with someone like yourself, a business coach or me or whoever, Kay Whitaker, whoever it is, there's enough for everybody, believe me.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
We all have different styles and all different ways of approaching things. But that to me is such a great thing. If you can identify what you want, you have an idea, you can visualize it, you can see it, you've got some steps and chunks and things like that, or maybe that's the part you need help with, is what are the actionable steps and the accountability chunks, right? Okay.
Yes.
But that's like you said, you work with coaches above you. I work with coaches above me. It's like, don't worry at that point if you have all the ideas, but you don't have the steps, or you have the steps, but you don't know how to do them. That's where it's okay to ask for help.
Yes. Yeah. And a really easy way that we sometimes get in our own way. We think we don't have the answer when we actually do. So here's a really easy way of getting yourself in that like mood of maybe you do know, maybe you do, is, well, if I did know, what might it look like?
It's a little bit of act as if.
Yeah, it's like if I did know what to do, what would I probably do?
What would I probably do? Yeah.
You would be surprised how much more you know than you think you might know.
Yeah. I love that. Well, it's funny because there's so many of the things that you're saying that I think to we do that, I do that. And I'm relating that to Kim, teaching my assistant, teaching her every single day, week, month, year, and her growth is unbelievable and exponential. And she's just so amazing. And I just admire her so much, how she digs in and how tenacious she is and so forth. And we're at the point now where I joke to myself, it's like I'm like the psychologist now, because at least 3 times a week she'll say, you have a minute, I want to ask you about a couple of things, how I should handle something. And almost every time she asks me the question, the first thing I say back to her is, well, what do you think you should do? Like, what if I weren't here? And it's funny because it's showing her, just like you're suggesting that we could do it to ourselves, but I'm always showing her, you really know a whole lot more than you realize, you know? And so there might be a little tweaking, a little conversation back and forth, and but she always has an answer. Just like you said, you probably will have an answer if you ask yourself, well, if you knew you had the answer, what would you think you would say to yourself, right? And so just start with answering the question. Start with answering the challenge and see and watch your brain develop its solution. And then maybe you have to take that little part to somebody else. Like she might get 3/4 of the way through and say, well, that's what I really think I should do, but I'm not sure how to phrase it, or I'm not sure how to frame it. And then that's where my 35 years of doing that nonsense comes in. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to attack it this way. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
Awesome.
So that's the last step of these goals that you actually reach. Give yourself milestones along the path. Make the little sub steps, the mini steps that you're going to have to take to get to your goals. And it doesn't need to be every single line item, just like the big things. Like, okay, I need new images. Underneath that new images, you might have 4 or 5 things that go underneath that. Like, okay, I need to hire a photographer, I need to pick the sites, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the details that you want to get into now. You want to kind of make those like, what are the big buckets? What are the 5 to 7 things that have to happen in order for that goal to be coming into fruition? And if your list is more like 50 to 70 things, you have to choose a closer goal, right? Choose something, like just chunk it down to a smaller bit, like break it down into reach this step and then reach that step. It should be about 5 to 7, like what I call mini steps or milestones along that goal, getting to that goal. And then once you have those, that's where we have this really cool tool called a daily blueprint. And what that is like, for instance, one of those steps, let's say, get new images, LuAnn, for your goal. That would be what you'd be focused on. My big goal is improve my marketing. And this week, what I'm going to do is focus on get new images. So then every day of the week, you give yourself between 15 to 45 minutes to do one of the steps that leads you to getting new images.
I love it.
So today I'm going to research photographers. Tomorrow I'm going to call them. The next day we're going to hire someone. Then it makes it really manageable. You want to give yourself time every day to work on this. You don't need to do it all day every day.
Right.
And dependent on how much else you have to do in the working and running of your business, 15 minutes a day of focused attention on this very specific goal and this very specific sub-step will get you leaps and bounds rather than waiting until you have an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours of undivided time, because we all know that happens like almost never unless we schedule it in. So schedule in those 15 minutes to 45 minutes a day, and you will be outrageously surprised at how quickly you get this goal accomplished. And then guess what? You go back to your brain dump and you pick the next one.
Right.
And rinse and repeat until you've accomplished all of your dreams, which never happens because
you dream
every
more.
time you reach a goal, dream more.
Bigger and better, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. I think it's so great. And it's funny because when you talk about if it's 15 minutes a day, if it's a half hour a day, whatever it is, that is something, a mechanism that Darcy Heather utilized and she talked about on the podcast. Darcy is an interior designer that it literally wrote me an email about a year ago at this point in time. It was about January of 2017. And she wrote a thank you email to me. And she said, LuAnn, I love your podcast and la, la, la. And I've been in business for 10 years. And it's amazing how many things I've learned from all of the guests on the show. And I just wanted to share with you all of the things that I've implemented since listening to your podcast. And of course, she went and listed like 14 or 15 things. And like was so like literally quantified what, did this, heard that, did that. And of course, my email back was, well, now, you have to be on the show and tell us all about that. Right. And one of the lessons that I always remember from Darcy was that she took each of the things that she sort of a lot like what you said, Madeleine, she took different episodes and she knew that there was something that she learned from an episode and she wanted to execute it. But if in the execution of it was, write new copy for her website. She didn't, what she specifically said was what you just said. She didn't go, okay, I have to write new copy for my website. It's going to take so long. It's 16 pages of copy and this is a big deal. And so therefore never getting done. She would literally say, I'm going to work on this for 1 hour every other day or whatever her schedule was. And so what would it be was like if she was going to write her about me page in 1 hour, whatever she got done in 1 hour, period, close the book, move on to whatever was next in her calendar. And so therefore what happened was she expressed how it not only sometimes in an hour she got 3 words done, sometimes in an hour she got 6 paragraphs done. But the point was that every time that it was on her calendar to do it, she got something done with it. And she never felt like this is so overwhelming, I can't do it. So therefore 3 months from now, the About You page still wasn't done. Right?
Right.
And that's what
Absolutely.
you were just saying. Just put it in your calendar, work on it, put your focus to it, put your attention to it, and then move on with the rest of your day and come back to it the next day. If it's a longer term sort of a thing, like you said. I love it. I love
Absolutely.
it. It's so.
Yep. Someone told me once that show me your calendar and I'll show you where your priorities lie. Because if you don't put time for it, especially as a business owner, you know it will not get done because you have to run your business. Right. And if you get so busy working in your business and you never step out to work on your business, how can you intentionally move in the direction you want your business to move? You might be moving, but it's exactly what we were saying in the beginning. You're moving there kind of by accident. You're getting there by hook or by crook. Doesn't it feel so much better to get there by design?
Yes, definitely. I love it. Oh my goodness, Madeleine, you're a rock star. It's so good. So I just want to remind all of you guys listening out there that if you want to meet Madeleine in person, she is going to be at the International Window Coverings Expo in Tampa, March 27 and 28. And this is a terrific conference if, as an interior designer, you have not really fully embraced window treatments as one of the arms of revenue for your business. Window treatments are usually a very expensive item, can be an expensive item, and it's a great thing to add to your repertoire to pump up your net profits. And when I say all this, I'm just going to reference, there was a comment in a Facebook group recently that talked about that the particular designer was frustrated because her clients were, after getting a window treatment quote from her or him, I don't recall, comparing it to the prices at the box store. And this is not what we're talking about. As interior designers, if you're offering window treatments, you should be offering strictly custom, strictly with services, strictly in a way that enhances your bottom line. So somebody that is comparing what you're offering to the box store is not your window treatment client. That's a client that you should be charging. This is my opinion. I'm going to go full out there on this. That's a client that you should be charging by the hour to suggest to them what to get if they're going to the box store to get it. But you don't need to be in the middle of that. You can't make any money in the middle of that transaction. I'm just going to tell you right now. So usually I'm not so forceful about it, but it's true. If an item is $50, how are you making any money on it? Stop. Okay. So, but if you are interested in learning more about window treatments and adding high value, worthwhile window treatments to pump up your volume as an interior designer and your profits, this is one of the resources for you, because Grace and her team at Window Fashion Vision Magazine and this expo put together, Madeleine, it's like, I always say it's like a college course in the seminars. It's like, I remember looking at college syllabuses, and this is what this is like. It's just seminar after seminar after seminar after seminar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I know Kim, when she was going last year, she sat there with all of the offerings for the 2 days, and literally there'll be 3 to 4 seminars offered at every time slot, from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, from 11 o'clock to, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, or there's super sessions. Like I'm doing a super session on high ticket window fashion sales. Let's just be serious. I'm going to really pound it in on you guys. That's a 3-hour seminar. But the point is that I remember Kim looking at it last year, and she was like, oh my God, I can't decide. There's 3 things going on at one time that I think are all terrific, So it's a lot of information. And of course there is the vendor floor where you have the possibility of meeting some contacts for resources if you want to get into window treatment. So, all righty. That is amazing, Madeleine. Thank you so much for your time. I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person in just a couple of months.
Yes, that's going to be super fun. And just so that if any of your listeners want to get more of this and to get access to the actual training that we covered here on the podcast, but there's still some pieces of it that, will go into greater detail and so on. If you want to get access to the training that we've created, it is at fasttracksalessystems.com.
Great.
And they can just click there, and as soon as you sign up, you get instant access to training number 1. And for 5 days, we'll give you training sequences to help you walk through this goal process so that you can, really make it tangible. So that's fasttracksalessystems.com, and that's where our goals training lives.
And this is a free resource that you're giving out.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
What I wanted to give the most, because it's the thing I see that creates mega results.
Yes.
When people do it.
So fasttracksalstraining.com.
Nope, fasttracksalessystems.com.
Fasttracksalessystems.com. Thank
That's
you
right.
so much. I thank you for going through it with us, and thank you for letting us know that it's available there for the 5 video series to just give you a brush up and to, like you said, expand on things that we might not have had a chance to go through. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Madeleine. Have a great day.
My pleasure. You too. Thanks.
Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.